Hello and welcome to the Inner Game of Entrepreneurship podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I am so excited. I know I always say that about my guests, but I'm so excited about this conversation today. And we have a Sarah Squared episode. We have another Sarah on the show. Sara Vezinšek is someone who walked away from a life most people would dream of. Sara Vezinšek grew up in Slovenia, a place where the luxury yacht world wasn't even something people believed was real outside of movies. But in her early 20s, she was living it, working as a private chef on super yachts, flying private, managing $1 million deals, and earning 15K a month. From the outside, it looked like a dream. But on the inside, she felt trapped, constantly on call, and completely disconnected from her own freedom and purpose. Now, she's an online business coach and mentor who helps ambitious women turn their lived experience into profitable, freedom based businesses. Sara is known for helping her clients package their brilliance into high impact offers, shift their money mindset, and finally stop trading time for money. She is bold, real, and passionate about showing women how to build a business that actually supports the life they want. Sara, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for today's conversation.
I am too. And, shout out to the Sarahs worldwide doing the doing the work. Sarah and I hopped on a pre-recording chat because even just from her bio, if you've been around, you know how similar our missions are. And we got to talking about two things that I know we're going to talk about all the things today, but about trading time for money and building a business where you replicate having a really stressful job, even though that's not at all what you want, and how both of us are really trying to help people break out of that. And also the idea that in order to build a successful business online, you need to have a big following on social media. And both of us are on soapboxes about those things. So I'm so excited for us to dive into those things today. But before we go there, Sara, I want you to talk a little bit about courses. I know that that's a place where you specialize, helping people build courses. And I know you said you believe that people have $1 million course idea inside them right now. So let's start there.
I am such a big believer that you already are, like all your listeners already are experts in something. And normally when I say expert, people freak out because they think like, oh, but I don't know everything. Experts don't know everything. They know enough in their own niche, in their own like life experience, in their own value, whatever they provided, and then they can teach that to people. And what I always say is, you only have to be 10% ahead of someone else in order to be able to serve them 100%, which is so true. And that gets people activated and gets them excited and like, oh, but what could I teach? And if you've never created a course, now, if you're a business owner that's working one-on-one, you have an idea of how you would structure it, kind of how to package your curriculum. But if you're someone listening thinking like, do I know enough? I actually offer a framework for people who can use the prompts and AI, and in about 40 minutes, you can have a fully outlined course idea. Again, this is AI, right? Like it will never be you, it will never have your lived experience, but it will, as like a third person, show you everything that you can do and teach and guide people on. And having that curriculum or kind of like a outline is so exciting because then you like wake up and get activated of being like, you know what, I can really do this.
I think that's so valuable because something that I think we all struggle with, I know I have it, and it's so much easier for me to see it in clients than in myself, of course. But the fact that we know so much more than we think we do, and we forget because we know so much more than we think we do, because we're so immersed in the thing that we know, we forget what it's like to be an absolute beginner. And we forget that we've picked up all of this knowledge along the way. And then we start to take for granted that everyone must know the things that we know. The other thing that I always find, especially with people who are just starting out in the idea that they would create some kind of information product, is that they think they need to be on par with or speaking to or communicating with their teachers or the people they follow. And I'm like, you're never going to quote unquote catch up with someone 15 years ahead of you, but you're not trying to make a product that that person wants. You're trying to make something for the person behind you, the person just starting out. So rather than looking at the people way ahead of your learning and saying, well, I don't know as much as that person, so I shouldn't be doing anything, that person would probably be intimidating to the person just starting out. The person just starting out needs step one. They don't need you to be at step 75. And we forget that. We really get into our head about like, oh, I have to be creating something that my teacher would be impressed by.
You're so right. Like, and what I've also helped so many entrepreneurs with is the course can give you so much time back. So if you're a beginner, like trying to think of something to teach and like want to get into that, I would definitely say like work with people one-on-one a little bit, flex your skill. Don't just go straight into creating a course if you've never really done any coaching. Because yes, it might be, except if you have like a super cool process from your job or something that works, then great. But if you're like starting from scratch, I wouldn't dive straight into courses because you want to know how to create it. Now, the beauty of a course or like a container, pre-recorded knowledge, is that it provides you to scale a business. A lot of one-on-one work, like service providers, struggle when it comes to scalability. And they feel like a parrot sitting on like ongoing Zoom calls doing like the same client work all damn day. And then thinking, especially right now after Black Friday, like, yes, you added 10 more clients, but now you have to support extra 10 clients, extra 10 calls per week, per month, whatever that is. So what my specialty is basically taking the one-on-one core offer that they offer, figure out their signature framework, and then packaging that into a curriculum where people now can come into their container, be supported with the curriculum itself, and gives the coach more time to add like elements of one-on-one calls, project reviews for implementation. And that's how they can scale and like the clients see massive results because they can go through the curriculum on their own time and then they have the coach for implementation. So it's a win-win for both parties.
I love that. And it's making me think of many years ago. So right now I'm in the process of sunsetting a program that I've been teaching for 7, 8 years, which is like really crazy. So I had a program I was teaching live, which I then turned into a membership where I packaged all of the recordings. But the way that I first started teaching elemental entrepreneurship, which was like my signature way to help people start a business from the ground up, was because I was doing the same work with my private clients over and over and over again. And not only was I doing the same work in terms of like I was answering the same questions over and over, but my little ADHD ass kept literally making people worksheets. And then later I'd be like, wait a minute. And I'd go look and I'm like, I'd made a resource for this already 2 clients ago. And then I just started putting them all together. And instead of wasting a client call, now coaches or people who do like consulting, any live calls, hear me on this. Your live calls are the most important value add. If you're using your live calls to reteach something, that you could have a recorded resource for or a worksheet that you just hand the person, they're not getting the most out of those private calls. It's so much more valuable use of both of your time. If it's just a basic teaching skill, something they need to set up, unless there's a really good reason you need to walk them through it on a live call, they get so much more out of their time with you. If you can give them a resource for that simple thing, they can do that on their own. And then they can come to the call with questions, with feedback, with concerns, with the next step. And so I was like, I'm wasting people's time and money by reteaching these things on private coaching calls that I could just give you a worksheet or a video or here's how you set this thing up. Here's how you do this part. You don't need a live call with me one-on-one for that. That's not the best use of our time. And that was how I started to create this course, was just this over time built up this vault of resources I had made for my private clients. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm sitting on something here that lots of people could use. And again, much more scalable. Even if I do this as a group program and then as a course, I could serve so many more people at a price point that's more accessible for people who can't do one-on-one. And I can't see a million clients a month. So this is a better way for me to get this information in people's hands. And so I think if you're out there realizing, oh yeah, I'm walking all my clients through the same processes over and over and over and over again. You're not helping them and you're not helping yourself if you don't find a more efficient way to get people that information.
1,000%. And like the beauty of it is that when you have your signature process or framework and you package it, what I also teach people is to sell high ticket versus low ticket. You can always have a low ticket product. You can always like add something for people who can't afford it. But when it's high ticket and you focus on like that premium client, you can have 10 people paying you 1,000 a month and you have 10K in reoccurring revenue guaranteed for 6 to 12 months. And yes, it's not going to happen from one day to another. You're going to have to collect those 10 people, but that's way better than having one-off coaching call for $400, $500. And then the client goes and finds like another long-term container because you gave them some results, but not an actual transformation. So I feel like that's the difference where people making courses are either info dumping or you can create something that is an actual like wealth of knowledge, and then you add elements of one-on-one, turn it into membership. So it's high ticket, reoccurring revenue, and people seeing massive, massive transformations. So they stay with you long term. And I think that's the beauty of like retaining those clients when you can continue to support them, right? Not just to keep them in order to get the money, but like it's ethical, it's amazing transformation. People see amazing results. So yeah, that's my like joy of teaching other entrepreneurs how to do it and like win-win on both sides.
This is so important and it segues so well into the topic of believing you need a big following to have a successful business because a lot of people, for myriad reasons, will talk themselves out of higher prices. They will get into, I'm going to make this program $40 or something like that, like just very low ticket. And then they have the idea, well, the internet is infinitely scalable. I could make $40,000 on this. And I'm like, yeah, but you have to sell 1,000 of these every month to do that. And when you don't know online business and you don't know conversion metrics and you don't know that the average rate of conversion into an online program right now is like 0.5 to 1.5%, it's very low. So you need to get, like the way that I always tell people, if I'm like, oh, I want to get 10 people in this program, I'm like, I'm going to go out and get 2,000 people to say no to me this month. That's the way that I think of it. I'm gamifying my no's. I need to go out and get 2,000 rejections to get 10 yeses. That's where my brain is at. But when you don't know those numbers, you might be vastly underestimating how challenging it is to reach the volume of people required for you to make a decent living selling lower ticket items. That's where we get into this confusion about needing a big following. If you have, for example, I have a client who has 1 million followers online, and we're doing a course right now. It's one of her first courses, and she did want to price it at like $44, but she has a huge following. 1% of 1 million followers, you're going to make some good sales. But if you are the average business owner who has 500, 600 followers, and you are selling something that's $40 and you sell 10 of them, you're going to be miserable because you're like, I just did all this work and I made $400 and I can't live off this. I can't quit my job. This does nothing for me. But like Sara was saying, if those 10 sales were $4,000 sales, you're in a much different position. And so when we get into where we're pricing things, high ticket, low volume is such an easier thing to start with than low ticket, high volume. And the thing I always tell my clients is it's just as hard to sell something that's $5 as it is to sell something that's $50,000. People think that low price means easier to sell. It doesn't. It's the exact same amount of effort. You still have to convince someone to open their wallet and part with their money. So you might as well be selling something that's going to make a difference in your life.
1,000%. And I feel like it's actually easier to sell high ticket from like perspective because you're targeting people with money. Someone with money is not going to fight you on a $2,000 investment that's going to give them the results. Normally, they're not going to even ask like, what are all the deliverables and like how many calls do I get and how many times can I text you? Because they know that you can provide transformation. So they're like, okay, if you can get me there, right? If like you're the right person and I know I have a problem and you can get me there, I'm paying you this money. This And I started with low ticket. I was charging like $50 a month for like all this support and all of this. We all have to learn, right? And then I'm like, these people who are paying you $40, $27, if you give them way too much access into your community, those are the people that are going to drive you nuts in the most loving way, because they're going to be like, I have to take use of every dollar that I spend, which was $40, which is like 3 coffees out in US, right? Like it's nothing. And you're so right. Like you're putting all this effort into doing it. And if you're working on volume right now on Instagram, good luck. Like, good luck. Even the people that have a massive following are now realizing that like they're kind of blending in. There's so many people promoting, so they're not seeing the same results. But I feel like the hardest sale of a high ticket is your mental block that you think that you don't provide enough value, which is so untrue. And I would love to invite you to just think like an English course is $3,000 to $5,000 for 3 months. Like something so simple. So why wouldn't your course be at least $2,000, $3,000, where you're teaching your whole process, or even better, like we discussed, like a high ticket membership, because then you make one sale and you're good for, 12 months with that person, instead of continuing to need to sell people and start your months on zero.
This is so important. And I can already hear my audience. So I'm just going to talk to y'all for a second. I don't only want to sell to people with money. And I do healing work, and I am like emotionally, diametrically, values wise opposed to healing being cost prohibitive for the people who need it most. And I hear you and I agree. But also, two things. One is, if you're not making enough money to pay your bills, you cannot help anyone. You're going to be depleted. You're going to have a side job. You're going to be giving a fraction of what you're actually capable of, because you're still financially scrambling in your own life. You're not able to pour all of your expertise and all of your resources into the healing work that you're trying to do. So you're minimized in your effectiveness simply because you're in survival mode, scrambling, trying to pay your own bills. And what that means is we need to get you stable first, right? So what I always tell people who are just starting out is fill out your your private work should be your highest ticket work, because when you're doing private work, you can't do anything else. When you're on a call with a client, you can't be with a group, you can't be with your team, you can't be creating content. There's nothing else you can do when you're with a client. So that should be the most expensive thing you offer. If you don't have anything yet, fill that out first and get your bills covered. Then you can start looking at, okay, now I'm stable. Now I can start to go into a group, and that can be a little bit more accessible. Then you could go into, okay, now I have that going. Can I take the recordings from my group and turn that into a course and make that a little more accessible? You can start to create accessibility in your business, but not until you are literally financially safe. That's thing number one. And thing number two is that sometimes your healing mission on the planet is not your business. And the reason I say that is because I've been working with people who they're like, my mission is to make healing accessible for people. Great. If that was true, you'd have a nonprofit with a team and you'd be out on the street making healing accessible for people. But you have a private online healing business and you are the only practitioner in the business. It can't meet your mission. So we have to look at like what your business might be for. The purpose of your business is to pay your bills, bankroll your life, and potentially create the financial abundance for you that you can then go out and serve your mission, which might mean you make enough money to start a foundation. You make enough money to give $10,000 a month to a charitable organization that's already working in your vision. Like there are so many ways to do this, but all of them require money. And so making sure that you understand that sometimes the purpose of your business is not to fulfill your mission directly. It's to get you the money you need to fulfill your mission once you have the cash to actually make a big difference. So like you're almost not thinking big enough. You as one little person with one little body cannot go out and like make healing equitable and accessible for all of the people you want to reach, but you could potentially make enough money in your business to do that. But you're going to have to get over the idea that like you don't want to sell to people who have money.
And I think another beautiful thing to mention here is when you target people with money, I have almost never got a person that I'm like they would be just like willing to pay 10K in full for my high ticket offer, I always get people who aspire to be on that level. And that's the whole point. So I have never had, like in this new business, someone who's like earning 50K a month. It's always people who are like on 5K a month where they can't afford it. They know that's their next level. So if you're targeting people with money, you will either activate people to that level or actually attract someone who's already on that level, which is a win-win. And then also, if you have a high ticket, like we discussed, and then you have a low ticket or a free podcast or a free community or some sort of resource where you can still ethically have people direct them like, hey, do this first, go through this. Once you are ready for this type of investment, we can talk about it. Or as you said, right, like later on, be like, okay, if this is not a membership, you can just buy the curriculum. You will get the gist of it, get to the X point of healing. And when you're ready for the next step, we'll hop in, offer them a one-on-one call instead of 6 months. Like there's so many ways where you can still help people. But your brain, whatever you focus on, that's what you're going to get. So if you're focused on helping people that don't have money, you will struggle, your business will struggle. And then you have to work on volume, which is just like not it for a complete beginner in business.
There's so many places to go here. It makes me so excited. I'm just bubbling over. Yes, 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 yes. The other thing is that, like, I've experienced such tremendous generosity in my business. I have always worked on like green bottle pricing model, equitable pricing scales, offering standing discounts for queer folks, BIPOC, single parents, all of these things. I've also been able to offer scholarship programs in my business. But the way that I'm able to do that is by having the top tier pricing model in place. So even in a tiered pricing model, I have my highest price, which is people who can afford both the program and to subsidize someone low with lower income, the middle price, which is just the price of the program, and then the scholarship price, which is for people who genuinely have financial need. But the only way I'm able to subsidize for the people with the financial need is because the people in the community who can pay more are opting into paying more. And I have done that for programs, and it's been a beautiful experience where I've gotten to see the generosity of my community and the people who are like, yeah, I have a job, or I have a spouse that has a really good job, or I have, like, I own a home, I have disposable income. I can afford to not only buy this product, but I want to pay it forward for someone who wants this, but they're financially struggling. But the only way I'm able to do that is by offering that higher price and making it a community effort where we all share the ethos of, like, if there's someone who is genuinely in financial need, we can all subsidize this and make this possible. Or I can always offer, if I'm doing a 10-person program, I can offer a scholarship spot, but only because I'm selling the other 10 spots at full price. And so it's just about making sure that your altruism and your desire to help is not putting yourself at a disadvantage or your business at a disadvantage. The other thing I have to say is that for a really long time, I believed people when they said that price was the problem. And so often in sales training, what you're told is like, price is never the problem. And that is not always true, right? There are a lot of reasons why price can be people's genuine objection. But a lot of the time, the way that I know that price is not people's genuine objection, they'll say, I can't afford it. But what they actually mean is, this is not of value to me in my life right now. And as Sarah was saying, like, when you are offering beginning level, entry level information, you're going to attract beginners and people who haven't started yet. But when you're offering higher level or advanced information, you're going to attract advanced folks, intermediate folks, beginners, and people who haven't started yet. So if you're just going entry level, the advanced people are looking at you and thinking, I don't need that person. They can't help me. But if you're speaking to the advanced person, the beginners are going, I want to get there. Let me keep my eye on this person. I'm going to work my way into that. Or I'm going to sign up now because I'm a really ambitious beginner and I want to get advanced. But when you're only speaking to beginners, so much of your audience is going to be people who are struggling to get off the starting block. And I had that for a really long time because I only was marketing to beginners. And I have had people in my audience who have come to, I've offered so much free stuff, so many free workshops where I provided a tremendous amount of value. I've done so many free offers. I have my podcast, I have YouTube. I've given up so much free game. I have people who've been on my list for years who have come to every free thing. And every year they say, I'm going to sign up next year. And it's been 9 years. And no shade, they are in the exact same place in their life that they have been all 9 years. They have not started. The issue is not the price. In those 9 years, they've spent the amount of money they would have spent on my program 15 times over. They're not ready to start. And they're using not being ready to invest the money as a safety blanket for themselves about not being ready to start. And so, as a business owner, like, we can't take responsibility for those people. We cannot be like, please, please, please start, please start, please start. We can't try to convince people who don't want to spend money to be ready to spend money. We can't. We just have to stop talking to those people.
1,000%. And I feel like there's also something to say about people paying slightly above what they're comfortable. Again, for someone that could be $200 a month, but for someone that might be $2,000 a month, and for someone that might be $5,000 a month. Because like, you have to think, if you want to cook dinner and you go to the store and you're like, it's going to be really nice dinner tonight, I want a nice steak. You're going to pay the premium for the nice steak because you're like, oh, higher price, it must be higher quality. Now, depending where you are, like, it doesn't necessarily always mean that, but in your head, higher price of a steak means that there's something better about it, because otherwise, why is it a higher price? Now, I'm sure, Sarah, you can agree, is like when you pay into a mentorship and you pay that like slightly uncomfortable price where yes, you can afford it, but it's like, like a slight, like little panic attack, you kind of level up, like your identity levels up and you can physically feel it. Your energy shifts. I normally make sales immediately after I jump into a new container. And like, yes, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. You never know until you're in it. But I think there is something to say about people who pay. They also will show up. They also will listen. They also will learn, because now they're paying for something that they see value in, and it's slightly uncomfortable. So they actually want to get the ROI back. So I think that's very important too. And as you said, Sarah, before, like if you're targeting beginners, the people with money are going to be like, well, she's helping, day one people. Like, why would I pay $20 for this where I can pay someone $5,000 and they'll like take me through the whole process? And, they're not targeting beginners. They're going to help me scale.
Absolutely. Ah, it's so good. There's so many things I want to say. My poor little ADHD brain. Y'all, I also have to say, as we're recording this is my first conversation of the day on a Monday morning. So my brain is a little bit everywhere. Sarah's in Europe, so it's later in the day for her. Okay, backtracking. The first thing I want to say is the first business coaching program I joined was a membership that was like $222 a month. And for me at the time, that was a stretch. That was financially scary for me. I was teaching dance and I was like barely making it. And $200 a month, like that was more than my phone bill. That was more than my internet. Like that was like, okay, I'm really making a bet on myself that I'm going to earn back this investment with what I learn in this program. And that $200 a month was enough money for me to be like, oh, I'm not missing a single call. I'm going to do every single piece of homework. I'm going to be nose up the teacher's butt. Like I am getting my money's worth out of this. And I still feel that way about every single investment I make. The last mastermind I was in was 15K, and that like whatever 900 something dollars coming out of my account every month. Please believe I was first in that Zoom room every single call. I asked for so much. I was like, I know I'm getting on my coach's nerves with the number of questions I ask, but I am getting my money's worth out of you. And that's what I tell my clients now. If you're in Powerhouse Mastermind, I'm like, get your money's worth out of me. You get to submit your content to me for review. You get to ask me questions. I'm like, I love when a client is like, oh, this is such a big investment that I'm going to put you as a coach through your paces. I'm sending you voice notes. I am asking you questions. Now, I don't want to ever be dependent on my coach, and I don't want my clients to be dependent on me. But when you are making an investment that feels like college, right? Like genuinely is like, okay, I'm coming into this to level up. I am going to get my money's worth. It's important because the average rate of completion for online courses is something like 10 to 12%. It's very, very low. And I'm sure everyone listening right now has a hard drive full of courses that were low ticket that you downloaded that you never completed. I did it for Black Friday. I bought a mobility course. I have done one lesson. It was $27. I did the lesson and I was like, oh my God, this is so great. This is worth so much more money. Have I done it again? No, I have not done it again. But if it was $2,700, I'm telling you right now, I would have done every lesson in that thing because I would have been like, I paid too much money for this to sleep on it. This is me holding myself accountable. Next time I do an episode, you guys, I will have done at least one more of these mobility. But we all have this. We all have a hard drive full of freebies that we've downloaded, worksheets that we've downloaded, low ticket courses we've bought from ads that were $8 or $20 that we have done the first lesson and nothing else because we didn't have enough skin in the game to like put a little fire under our butt to really take it seriously and to have that feeling of like, I need to get my money's worth out of this investment. I feel the same thing about like people who sign up for like Equinox Fitness. I don't know if you guys have that over there, but Equinox Fitness versus Planet Fitness. A gym that's like $400 a month versus a gym that's $10 a month. I have Planet Fitness and I don't care if I don't go to the gym for 2 months. But if I was paying $400 a month, I would be there. Even if it was just to use the sauna, I'm there. I'm using their lotion. I'm never buying my own lotion ever again.
Such a good point. Like, it's so, so good. I'm just like thinking back to all the crazy like investments that I've made. And a lot of times I want to leave this with your audience too, right? Like, if you're planning to invest into a coach, pro tip, there is so many people claiming to have the result, claiming to have the secret out there right now, right? And you as a beginner or you as whatever level you're at, you're like, oh, but what is the secret? There is no secret. Like, there really isn't no secret. There's no secret sauce there. You're going to come in and you're going to like consume one video and then just like magic will happen. Yes, there's different types of strategies, but what you really get to ask the question to the coach that you want to jump in is like, can this person teach me the like business blueprint, the marketing, the visibility, like whatever you're focusing on? Can they teach me that? And then can I make that my own? Because like their exact strategy is not going to work for you and for your audience, like ever. So if you think that someone has this secret of like 10 viral hooks and that is all BS. I'm sorry. It just says, yes, there's better hooks, there's worse hooks, there's better editing, there's worse editing. But at the end of the day, what you really get to do is figure out why you are unique. What is something unique about you that you will teach, that you will share with people, and like really get clear on who your ideal client is, and not the clients that you had and thinking like dotting and like trying to pull it together. Like, what's the common theme here? No, who do you want to work with? And like we talked before, when you target the person that you want to work with, that doesn't mean that you're excluding everybody else. I technically target women and I have men in my world. Like, it doesn't exclude anybody. It just, when you are so specific in your marketing, it's so easy for people to be like, oh, she's talking to me, versus you talking to everybody and then no one wants to listen because you just kind of blend into the whole sea of coaches talking one after another, like all of that. So I think that's such an important thing that would have saved me so much time in the beginning if I really dove into like who my ideal client is to the point where I know them inside out. I know what they say when they wake up. I know what they're thinking when they're looking in the mirror. I know what they're thinking like when they're staring at their computer screen. How does their day look like? What are they Googling? What are they eating? Like, so specific, because then when you're writing content, then where you're promoting to get people in, it's so easy to speak about all these moments. That's why like getting the roots to your business, like before you grow the flower, the tree, whatever that is so important. It's going to save you so much time.
This point about knowing what you're looking for in a coach, this is where discernment as a client is so important. Before you go invest in a program, sit down and make a list of what you actually need help with. Like, do you know what kind of help you need? Program, like I bought courses on like how to build a funnel at the very, very beginning. And I got in there and I was like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. Like, it was so much farther advanced than I was, but I got sucked in to the hype of the person's marketing. It's so important to be discerning as a customer and to make sure that you're not just falling for either marketing that looks too good to be true is one thing where like really sit down and think about it. Is this person promising you that you're going to have multi 5-figure days while you're laying on a yacht in 2 weeks where you're like, this is not real. This is not realistic. They are preying on a vulnerable part of you that wants to be saved from hard work. Like we have to be so honest with ourselves. And when I say hard work, y'all, I have a funny relationship with this idea because I'm so anti hustle culture and the idea of just replicating yourself a job. The hard work is mostly inner work. It is mostly self-concept work and it is butt in chair, but it's not the butt in chair of like um just endless grinding and spinning your wheels. It's button chair of, like Sarah said, sitting down and figuring out your unique differentiator, what it is exactly that you're going to sell, that you're going to offer, that is your unique angle on something. It's figuring out your voice. It's figuring out your customer. It's refining your positioning, refining your messaging. There is no skipping introspection. Whether you're talking, this is why this podcast is the inner game of entrepreneurship. Whether you're looking at your business growth, your personal growth, there will always be a part of us that wants to skip doing the inner work, doing the interest. Like we want to be saved. We're like, someone come along and save me from having to do the hard part. And somebody showing up and promising you that if you just follow their 5-step formula, you're going to be a millionaire. It is so sexy to the part of us that wants to be saved from having to do the inner work. We're like, oh, that sounds much better. There's a shortcut. Man, if there was a shortcut, everyone would have taken it. And people have heard me talk about this a lot. A lot of business coaching marketing is diet culture marketing. If you switched the money for weight and weight loss, if somebody is saying you can lose 60 pounds in 2 weeks if you just drink this shake, that's not true. It's not true. And a lot of the big name business coaches with thousands and thousands of followers came from Beachbody. They are using diet culture marketing in their business. They are trying to appeal to the part of us that is like, oh, it is 2 o'clock in the morning. I am panicked that my business isn't going to work. I just want someone to come do this for me and make it easy so bad. And then you see someone who's usually a skinny white woman standing in front of gold number balloons that say 1 million or 7 million or 16 million, popping champagne saying you can have this too if you just buy my program. And then you get in that program and it's all fluff. And you didn't even know what you actually needed help with when you bought it. We have to just slow down before we make any purchases in anything. And look, we're all going to do it. Everyone's going to have the late night impulse buy where you buy some gadget and you're like, why did I do this to myself? This was stupid. But like, sit down and make a list of what you actually need help with. Because if what you actually need help with is setting up your business legal foundations and contracts and getting your business paperwork filed, don't go hire a marketing coach. If what you actually need help with is positioning, don't go buy a program on 10 viral hooks when your positioning isn't in place. If you need help on even understanding what all these words mean, you need to go do a like foundations of business program. Then that is not about Instagram. The foundations of business are not about social media, right? Like figure out what you need help with and come into the market with some grounded discernment so that you don't get taken advantage of by coaches who are promising some big, huge transformation, or even by coaches who are selling a real transformation. Like that funnels program was good. It just wasn't the program I needed. I wasn't ready for it. You have to know, we all have to know, what do I really need help with? And how do I be a discerning consumer in this online marketplace where I'm seeing 100 ads a day for courses and programs that all promise they're going to make me $1 million in 5 minutes?
1,000%. Like, so true. And this is the point where like my brain was spazzing. What I would suggest you do, especially if you're trying to buy from like a big, huge coach, not a bad thing, but I would really ask when you are on a sales call, when you're talking to someone, because it's normally not them, ask how does it actually look like? How many people are in there? Because if you're paying $5,000 to be in a group of 6,000 people, I bet you're not going to get one-on-one support. They're not going to answer all these questions. But The other suggestion would have is what I've been doing, and ever since I started doing this, I have been in the best containers, is a lot of times coaches share client wins, or you can see from the comments who their clients are. Always, you can figure it out. Within 5 minutes, you can figure out who they worked with. Go talk to them. In a nice way, be like, hey, I'm really interested in investing in this container. I've been burned before. I would love to hop in and do this. Can you give me some input, like, of how it looks like? Not the actual curriculum and like what I'm going to learn, but just like, hey, is it what it is? I've made so many good financial decisions, good investments because of that. And a lot of times after you invested a couple of times, you can kind of see what's fluff based on the marketing, based on like how big they are, like da. So you can flex that muscle and figure it out, but like go talk to their past clients or current clients and you will get the best answers because they're going to give it to you straight, not even in a mean way of like they suck. They're just going to be like, oh, I actually thought it's going to be more on that. And you're like, oh, great. Actually, that's what I need. So let me not invest $5,000.
Absolutely. And I think, like, I don't know if y'all would do this, but I would do this if I was thinking about buying a car. If I was like, oh, I kind of want a Jeep. I want to go talk to people who own Jeeps and be like, what is it like to get to repair them? How expensive is it to just have one? I like how they look. I don't know anything about having, like, I would be asking questions if I was going to make any kind of big investment before I was going to move into an apartment building. I would want to talk to the neighbors and be like, how do you like living here? What's it really like? Because there's what things look like, and then there's the actual experience of being there. And as discerning consumers, it is totally okay before we make a big purchase to go walk around and talk to people. I have always encouraged people who have questions about working with me. I have offered to people. I have a past client or another client who's in your same industry. Would you like to talk to them? I'm sure that they would talk to you about working with me. I'm happy to put you in touch because I want people to go, like, kick the tires, make sure you want this. Also, because coaching is an intimate relationship. If you're working closely with clients, I want us to make sure that we really go into it feeling good about working together. And that's an okay thing for you to want as a consumer. And I think sometimes, oh, I hate it when I see in the coaching world coaches who are like a little bit bullyish. And they're like, if you have to ask these questions, you're not ready. Da, 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 da. Like they do that to intimidate people. Like anyone who makes you feel like you're buying from a place of pressure, my advice is don't buy. Like if they make you feel like you're an idiot, if you have questions, like probably don't buy from that person. It's okay to have a lot of questions before you spend however much money feels like a stretch, but especially if there are three zeros behind that price tag, ask your damn questions. Check around, get the info. It's your money. You deserve that. So, Sarah, I do want to talk before we go. I want to talk a little bit about, no, we can't. You have another call. I want to talk to you all day.
I actually pushed it back 15 minutes, so we're all good.
Okay, a little tiny bit. I want to talk about scalability because that is what we're getting into here. And some people scale in a way that I think is unethical. When you're promising people high proximity and it's high ticket, but then you get in there and you're never going to see that coach ever again. So how can people scale a service model where they're still providing high value and they're still delivering what they say they're going to deliver?
This is kind of what I touched like a little bit on in the beginning, but I call it your MVP signature offer. And any business owner that's starting now, if you're trying to create 15,000 offers, again, like don't do that to yourself. Let's focus on one high ticket that's going to pay you. And then like you can get people in, but let's get actual structure done so like people can understand how simple business can be. If you worked one-on-one, you're a service provider, right? You, Sarah, you've been in this, like you have a process that you guide every single client through. Guarantee. Maybe you start with one on step 2, one on step 3, but like there is a certain process that you go through. So I call it like creating your signature framework first, either creating it or like figuring out what that actually is and just like putting it in actual steps. Once you have that framework, which everybody has at some point, right? Especially not on your day one, but like a little bit into your business. Once you have that framework, that's the thing that we're going to package into a container. Your signature framework, like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Amazing. What I also do with these creators then, like service providers, is you can use for your framework for your marketing as well. Because if you have 5 signature steps, why not have 5 core topics for your pillars as well and just keep it super cohesive? And 4 months down the line, if you see that step 1 and step 5 are not the ones like getting people activated, don't talk about that. Keep it simple. Focus on the 3 that are. Like, people don't need to know everything. But coming back to the actual like offer, if you have your framework in a curriculum that is available to people, then the beauty about it is adding elements of one-on-one, like you said. Like, you still get to add some of your time, but you get to do it in a way where you can scale it. Now, because you're not physically teaching people what to do every step of the way, what I do is, for example, my elements of one-on-one are like 90-day sprints. So I offer 4 calls per year with that client one-on-one. Plus, we have a group container where we do hot seat coaching every 2 weeks, which gives them that one-on-one support. We can plan 3 months in advance every quarter. They're super stoked because they know what to focus on. Another example is they can ask you questions inside the group. As coaches, we know that answering questions is like really not that time consuming. But for people who don't make it on the call or who have a question midweek and don't want to wait 2 weeks, that is a massive value add. There's so many ways how you can do this. And when it comes to scalability that way, you, because you have elements of one-on-one, can provide a transformation. If you just sell a curriculum, you do not know and will never be able to serve everybody, because when it comes to implementation, people get lost. This is why with the one-on-one support, questions, project reviews, content reviews, this is where people get to like learn how to implement, flex that muscle. And this is how you can scale ethically while providing transformation, but also holding more people and not having like a packed calendar.
I love this so much. Okay, Sarah, I know you have other things to do this evening, so thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Where can people find you online?
The simplest way to find me, honestly, would be on Instagram. It's Sara, Sara Vez, V-E-Z coach, Sara Vez coach. And I have my website there. I have my podcast there. I have all my like free juicy topics that you want to like dive into and like create a course or figure out like marketing strategy, whatever that is. But I also want to say I am such an open book. I love people in my DMs. I love answering questions, love connecting with everybody. So if you come there, all the resources are there, and feel free to slide into my DMs for anything.
Thank you so much. This was such a joy. It was so fun to talk to you, and I will see you on Instagram. Thank you so much for being here with us today, everybody. Bye.
That's our episode for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this. I know there are so many things that you could be doing with your day, so many things you could be listening to, and it means so much that you are here in this community. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment, share it on social media, and tag me at Intuitive Edge Coaching. Share it with a biz bestie who you think needs to hear it and will appreciate it. And take a moment to to subscribe, and to leave a 5-star review wherever you are listening. It helps me grow this show, and it helps us grow and sustain this brilliant community of entrepreneurs dedicated to doing the inner work. Thank you so much for being here. K-love you, bye.